Welcome back to the Essential Health Podcast. Today, we're talking about a diagnosis that can feel completely blindsiding. I see it every week in my practice. A patient over 60, in for a routine checkup, gets their lab results, and suddenly they're facing a future of medication and worry. It's the silent passenger that's been on their life's journey for years and just now decided to stand up and announce its presence. Pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. To help us deconstruct this and give us a real plan for hope, I'm so pleased to welcome our guest, Dr. Marcus Cole, a leading endocrinologist. Dr. Cole, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Anya. It's a critical conversation.
Dr. Cole, that feeling of shock my patients have is so real. They feel like they failed. What's the first thing you tell them?
The first thing I tell them is that this is not a life sentence. It's not a moral failing because you enjoyed your grandson's birthday cake. It's simply your body's check engine light coming on. And the good news is, for most people, this is a light we can absolutely turn off.
I love that. A check engine light, not an engine failure light. So that is our promise to you today. This episode is the owner's manual for that light. Here's exactly what we're going to cover. First, Dr. Cole will demystify insulin resistance with a brilliant analogy that will finally make it make sense. Then we will build your 3-pillar action plan, covering the simple but powerful changes you can make to your nutrition, your movement, and your sleep and stress levels. And finally, we'll end with a clear, hopeful message on how to reclaim your metabolic health for good. It's a complete roadmap from confusion to control. So, Dr. Cole, let's start with that check engine light. What is really happening under the hood when that light comes on? Okay, Dr. Cole, you've reframed a scary diagnosis as a check engine light. So let's get into the mechanics. When that light comes on, the term doctors use is insulin resistance. I know this is the root cause of the problem, but it's a phrase that I think leaves most people confused. Can you break it down for us in a way that truly makes sense?
Absolutely. And I promise once you understand the story, you will never see a piece of cake or a walk after dinner the same way again. The best way to think about it is with a simple analogy. I call it the ignored knock. Imagine your body cells are like little houses on a street. And inside each house, there's a family that needs energy to live. Now, imagine insulin is a very polite, very reliable delivery person. Let's call him Insulinus. His only job is to deliver packages of energy, which is the glucose from the food you eat, to the front door of each cell. For years, decades even, this system works perfectly. You eat a balanced meal, a reasonable amount of sugar arrives in your bloodstream. Insulinus takes one of those sugar packages, walks up to your cell, and gives a polite knock on the door. Your cell, which is hungry for energy, hears the knock, happily opens the door, accepts the package, and uses the energy. The delivery is complete. Your blood sugar goes back to normal. Everything is in harmony.
Okay, that's a perfect picture of a healthy metabolism. So what starts to go wrong?
What goes wrong is the frequency and the volume of the deliveries. We start eating a diet full of refined carbohydrates and sugars. We're having toast and orange juice for breakfast, a big sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, and sugary snacks in between. Now, poor Insulinus isn't just knocking once or twice a day. He is at the cell's front door every 30 minutes, knocking and knocking and knocking. And your cell, which is already full of energy, gets annoyed. It's in the middle of doing other things. It doesn't need another package. So what does it do? It does what you or I would do. It starts to ignore the knock. It pretends it's not home. It puts on its noise-canceling headphones. It becomes resistant to the knock of insulin.
So insulin resistance is literally the cell getting annoyed and refusing to answer the door.
Precisely. Now your body is smart. It sees all these undelivered sugar packages piling up on the street. That's rising blood sugar. And it thinks the problem must be that the knock isn't loud enough. So your pancreas, the dispatch center, makes a decision. It doesn't just send one Insulinus, it hires an entire army of them. This is the stage of high insulin. The army of delivery people all go to the cell's door and start knocking and banging all at once. For a while, this brute force method works. The sheer noise is so overwhelming that the cell, frustrated, finally cracks open the door and accepts another package. But at this stage, even though your blood sugar might look normal on a basic lab test, your body is working incredibly hard and is flooded with the fat storage hormone insulin. This is the stage where you start gaining weight for no reason. This is where the fatigue starts because even though there's energy everywhere, the delivery process is incredibly inefficient. Your cells are starving in the land of plenty.
And what happens when even the army of delivery people isn't enough?
That is the final stage. The cell gets so overwhelmed, so sick of the constant banging that it does the final thing it can do. It soundproofs the door. It barricades it from the inside. Now, it doesn't matter how loudly or how many delivery people are knocking, the door will not open. And now you have the full picture of type 2 diabetes. You have an angry crowd of delivery people on your lawn, and you have a massive, dangerous pile of undelivered sugar packages on your porch and spilling into the street.
Dr. Cole, that analogy was a complete game changer. The idea that my cells are just annoyed is so much more empowering than thinking they're broken. It makes the problem feel solvable. So if the goal is to stop annoying ourselves, where do we begin? Let's build the first pillar of our action plan: nutrition.
Absolutely. This is the foundation. If we don't change the way the deliveries are made, nothing else will work. The new rule is simple. We need to eat in a way that doesn't create a traffic jam. We want to move from a chaotic, overwhelming flood of deliveries to a calm, predictable, and orderly schedule.
I think a lot of people hear that and immediately think of bland, boring diet food. They picture steamed chicken and broccoli for the rest of their lives. Can we start by busting that myth?
Please, this has nothing to do with deprivation. In fact, you will probably eat more satisfying, delicious food this way. It's not about what you can't eat. It's about what you must add to every single meal. Let's deconstruct a typical day of eating that leads to annoyed cells. Picture this. Breakfast. A bowl of cereal with low-fat milk and a glass of orange juice. Lunch. A turkey sandwich on white bread with a bag of chips. Dinner. A large plate of spaghetti with marinara sauce. On the surface, it doesn't look terrible, right? It's not candy bars and soda. But from your cell's perspective, that is a relentless, day-long assault. It's just wave after wave of fast-absorbing carbohydrates, pure sugar deliveries, with almost nothing to slow them down. By the end of the day, your cells have barricaded the door and your insulin is screaming.
That's an incredibly common day of eating for so many people. So how do we rebuild it? How do we turn that into a day of polite, orderly deliveries?
We give the sugar a chaperone, or more accurately, two of them. Every time you eat, you must ensure that carbohydrate is accompanied by its two best friends, protein and fat, and its cousin, fiber. They are the team that slows down the party. They are the ones who tell the sugar delivery person, hey, slow down, ring the doorbell politely, we'll get there in good time. They completely change the speed of digestion and absorption. Let's rebuild that same day. For breakfast, instead of the cereal, what if you add 3 scrambled eggs? That's your protein and fat, cooked in a little butter, with a side of avocado, more fat and fiber, and maybe 1 slice of whole grain, high fiber toast. You're still getting the comfort of toast, but it's arriving with a full team of chaperones. The energy from that meal will last for hours, not minutes.
Okay, that sounds delicious. What about lunch?
For lunch, let's take that same turkey sandwich, but we're going to make 2 crucial upgrades. First, we switch from white bread to a high-quality, 100% whole grain or sourdough bread. That adds fiber. Second, and this is the most important part, we double the amount of turkey. We want a thick stack of protein. And then we add a thick layer of avocado or hummus for healthy fat. We've just transformed a sugar bomb into a balanced, stabilizing meal.
And for dinner, that big plate of pasta that so many of us love.
You can still have it, but we're going to apply the same principle. I call it the protein flip. Instead of the pasta, being the star of the show with a little bit of meat sauce on top. We flip it. The star of the show is now a generous portion of protein, like a beautiful chicken parmesan or meatballs or grilled salmon. The pasta is the side dish, a smaller portion on the side, and you start the meal with a big green salad with an olive oil vinaigrette. You're getting the fiber and fat in first to prepare the whey, then the protein, and then the pasta. It completely changes how your body processes that meal. I had a patient, a 64-year-old truck driver named Frank. His diet was all fast food, sandwiches, and pasta. His blood sugar was out of control. We didn't make him a gourmet chef. We just did the protein flip. I told him, Frank, whatever you're eating, I want you to find the protein, and I want you to double it. And I want you to add a vegetable. So instead of just a burger, it was a double burger with no bun and a side salad. Instead of a huge bowl of pasta, it was a smaller bowl with 3 extra meatballs. Within 3 months, his energy was stable for the first time in years, and his blood sugar numbers had dropped by 30 points. We didn't take away his favorite foods. We just changed their proportions.
So the actionable advice is incredibly clear. It's not about no carbs. It's about never eat a carb alone. Every single time you eat, you're asking yourself, where is my protein? Where is my healthy fat? And where is my fiber?
That is the entire philosophy. Protein is the bouncer at the club door of your bloodstream. It doesn't let all the sugar characters in at once. Fiber is the velvet robe that creates an orderly queue, and fat is the comfortable lounge where everyone can wait patiently. You need the whole system. When you do that, you stop annoying yourselves. They hear the polite knock, they happily open the door, and the entire system starts to heal.
Dr. Cole, that nutritional pillar is a complete paradigm shift. The idea of not annoying ourselves by chaperoning our carbs with protein and fat is so clear and actionable. But food is only half of the energy equation. Let's move to the second pillar of our action plan, which is movement. And again, I think we need to start by tearing up the old rulebook. So many of us, especially in our 50s and 60s, have a complicated relationship with exercise. We think of it as a punishment for what we ate or a painful chore we have to do to burn calories. What is the new, smarter way to think about movement for metabolic health?
The new way is to stop thinking of movement as burning calories at all. That's a terribly inefficient and demotivating model. I want you to start thinking of movement as a way to give your sugar a job. Let's go back to our ignored knock analogy. We have all these undelivered sugar packages, glucose, piling up in the street, the bloodstream, because the cell's front doors are resistant to insulin's knock. It's a traffic and logistics nightmare. But what if I told you that your muscles have a secret special entrance?
A secret entrance? I'm intrigued.
Your skeletal muscles are the largest organ in your body by mass, and they are like a massive, hungry sponge for glucose. And here's the magical part. When you contract your muscles, when you actually use them, they can open up special glucose channels, like a secret back door or a loading dock, that can pull sugar out of the bloodstream without needing insulin to knock at all. This is not a small effect. It is a profound one. Muscular contraction is one of the most powerful, non-pharmaceutical ways to clear glucose from your blood. When you move your body, you are literally giving those loitering sugar packages a place to go, a job to do. You are solving the traffic problem.
So every time we move, we are essentially opening up a back door that insulin resistance can't block. That's an incredible visual. So how do we put this into practice? What kind of movement is best?
This is where we need to be strategic. And I'm going to give you what I believe is the single most powerful evidence-based health habit a person can adopt to manage their blood sugar: the post-meal walk. I had a patient, a 58-year-old accountant named Arthur. He sat at a desk all day. His biggest meal was dinner, and afterwards he'd sit on the couch to watch TV for 3 hours. His blood sugar was highest and most stagnant during that exact period. I gave him one instruction. I said, "Arthur, after you finish your last bite of dinner,
I want you to stand up and walk for just 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a power walk, just a gentle stroll around the block.
Just 10 minutes?
Just 10 minutes. He came back a month later, and his after-dinner blood sugar readings had dropped by an average of 40 points. It was astounding, because what he was doing was activating his largest muscle groups, his legs and glutes, right at the moment the sugar delivery from his meal was arriving in his bloodstream. He was opening up the loading docks at the exact moment the packages were being dropped off. The sugar went straight into his muscles to be used as fuel, instead of loitering in his blood and causing problems.
That's so achievable, it's almost hard to believe it can be that effective. It removes the barrier of needing to go to a gym for an hour.
It does. It's about frequency and timing, not just duration and intensity. But that brings us to the second part of the movement pillar, which is the long-term strategy, building more loading docks. If a 10-minute walk opens up the existing back doors, then strength training is the work of building a bigger warehouse with hundreds of new loading docks. Every pound of lean muscle you build is another hungry, glucose-soaking sponge in your body. It is your metabolic savings account. The more muscle you have, the more room you have to put the carbohydrates you eat. Your body becomes far more resilient to the occasional piece of birthday cake because you have all this extra storage space.
So this goes back to what we discussed in our last episode on sarcopenia. For our metabolic health, building and maintaining muscle is not optional.
It is the single most important thing you can do for your long-term metabolic health. You don't have to become a bodybuilder. We're talking about 2 to 3 sessions of resistance training a week. You can use weights at a gym. You can use resistance bands at home. You can use your own body weight. But you must send that signal to your body to build and preserve this precious metabolically active tissue. A person with healthy muscle mass can eat a slice of pizza and have a minor blood sugar response. A person with low muscle mass can eat a single apple and have a dramatic blood sugar spike. The muscle is the buffer. It changes the entire equation of how you age. You are literally building a body that is more forgiving, more resilient, and more efficient at using energy. You are giving yourselves a break from that constant annoying knock of insulin because your muscles are happily accepting the packages at the back door.
Dr. Cole, the first two pillars have been revolutionary. Pillar 1, eat in a way that doesn't annoy your cells by chaperoning carbs with protein and fat. And pillar 2, give your sugar a job to do by using movement, especially after meals, to open up those back doors in our muscles. This feels like a complete and, frankly, achievable plan. But you say there is a third pillar, one that most people completely ignore when they think about their blood sugar.
That's right. This is the pillar that I call the invisible foundation. It's the one that happens when you're not eating and you're not exercising. This is the pillar of sleep and stress. If this foundation is cracked, everything you build on top of it, all your perfect nutrition and exercise, will eventually crumble. They are not soft wellness topics. They are potent, physiological modulators of your blood sugar.
Let's start with sleep. We did a deep dive on this in a previous episode, but can you connect the dots for us specifically? How does a single bad night of sleep immediately impact my blood sugar the next day?
The research on this is absolutely stunning and, frankly, terrifying. Studies have shown that just one single night of partial sleep deprivation, we're talking getting 4 to 5 hours instead of 8, can make a healthy young person's cells as insulin resistant as a person with type 2 diabetes the very next day.
One night? That's a shocking statistic.
One night. Let's go back to our analogy. When you are sleep deprived, your cells are exhausted. They are tired. They are grumpy. They are in no mood to answer the door for anyone, not even our polite delivery person, Insulin. The brain is in a state of crisis, so it doesn't want to be bothered with small tasks like processing energy efficiently. It just wants to survive. Your cells literally become deaf to the knock of insulin overnight.
I had a patient, a 55-year-old CEO named Carol. She was brilliant, driven, and lived on 5 hours of sleep a night. She wore it like a badge of honor. Her diet was immaculate. She had a personal trainer, but her fasting blood sugar and her HbA1c were creeping up into the pre-diabetic range, and she couldn't understand why. She was doing everything right. I told her, Carol, you are not a nutrition problem. You are a sleep problem. We didn't change her diet at all. Our only prescription was for her to be in bed for 8 hours a night, no exceptions. It took 2 months, but every single one of her metabolic markers came back down into the healthy range. She didn't realize she was trying to fix a foundational crack by repainting the walls.
So for anyone listening who is doing all the work with their food and exercise but not seeing results, the first question they should ask themselves is, am I truly sleeping enough?
It is the fundamental question. You cannot out-exercise or out-diet a chronic sleep deficit. Your biology will always win.
This brings us to sleep's evil twin, stress. I think we all vaguely know that stress is bad for us, but can you explain the direct mechanical link between a stressful day and high blood sugar?
Of course, and this is another huge aha moment for my patients. Let's go back to our control room. We met the panicked alarm technician, cortisol. When your brain perceives a threat, and this is key, it can be a real threat like a car swerving towards you, or a perceived threat like a deadline at work or an angry email from your boss, it pulls the fire alarm. Cortisol floods your system. And what is the purpose of cortisol? It's to get you ready to fight or flee. And what do you need to fight or flee? You need instant, readily available energy. So cortisol sends an emergency signal to your liver, which is your body's sugar warehouse. The signal says, emergency! Dump all the sugar packages into the street now! We need them for the muscles!
So a thought can literally cause my liver to release sugar into my bloodstream?
Literally! And here's the problem with our modern lives. The threat is an email. There is no lion to run from. There's no battle to fight. So you don't use that sugar your liver just dumped. It just sits there, loitering in your bloodstream. So what does your body do? It sends out the insulin army to try and knock on all the doors to get rid of it. You have just created a massive blood sugar and insulin spike without eating a single thing. Worrying about a political news story or getting into an argument with your partner can have the same impact on your blood sugar as eating a candy bar. When you are chronically stressed, you are telling your liver to constantly trickle sugar into your blood, keeping your insulin high and keeping your cells annoyed and resistant all day long.
So the practical takeaway here is that managing our stress is not a soft woo-woo piece of advice. It is a direct, potent blood sugar management strategy.
It is as powerful as changing your diet. This is why practices like the 5-minute mindful pauses we talked about, or walk in nature, or meditation are not luxuries. They are essential medical interventions for a person trying to manage their metabolic health. They are the tools you use to tell your alarm technician, hey, it's just an email, it's not a lion, you can stand down. When you calm your mind, you are literally calming your blood sugar.
Dr. Cole, I need to take a moment here just to let all of this sink in. I think for so many people listening, a diagnosis of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes feels like an ending. It feels like a life sentence to bland food, endless medications, and a future of decline. But the story you've told today is the complete opposite of that. You've given us a new way to see it. It's not a failure. It's simply our body's check engine light coming on. It's a signal, a message.
That's exactly right, Anya. It is not an endpoint. For so many of my patients, this diagnosis becomes the most powerful catalyst for positive change in their entire lives. It is the moment they finally decide to start paying attention. It is the beginning of a new chapter.
I love that. So let's recap the owner's manual for that check engine light. Let's summarize this incredible new map you've given us. It seems to come down to a single powerful idea: learning to work with our bodies instead of against them. You started with pillar 1, nutrition, and the message wasn't one of deprivation. It was about starting to stop annoying ourselves. It was about ending the constant ignored knock of insulin by chaperoning our carbohydrates with their two best friends, protein and fat.
You've given us a powerful visual of our meals, not as a source of stress, but as a way to create a calm, stable, and orderly internal environment. Then you move to pillar 2, movement, and you completely reframed exercise. It's not a punishment to burn calories. It's a gift we give our bodies to give our sugar a job. That simple 10-minute walk after a meal is no longer a chore. It's a magical key that opens up the back doors of our muscles, solving the sugar traffic jam without needing insulin at all. And strength training isn't about vanity. It's the crucial work of building more loading docks, making our entire system more resilient. And finally, you brought it all home with pillar 3, the invisible foundation of sleep and stress. You showed us how a single night of poor sleep can sabotage all our best efforts, and how a stressful thought can literally flood our bloodstream with sugar. The lesson is that calming our minds is a direct, potent medical intervention for calming our blood sugar.
When you put those 3 pillars together, you're not just managing a disease. You are sending a powerful, consistent message to every cell in your body. The message is, you are safe, you are nourished, you are strong. When your cells receive that message day after day, they no longer need to be resistant. They will slowly but surely start to answer the knock again.
Dr. Cole, thank you. Thank you for making this complex topic so incredibly clear, so hopeful, and so empowering. You've given our listeners not just information, but a true plan for a new beginning.
It has been my absolute pleasure. The final thought I want to leave everyone with is this. Your body has an incredible, innate capacity to heal. All you have to do is give it a chance. Start with 1 meal, 1 walk, 1 better night of sleep. It begins now.
What a perfect message to end on. And to our incredible community listening, now it's your turn. After hearing this masterclass, I want to ask you, what is the one polite delivery you are going to make to your body today? Is it a protein-rich breakfast? Is it that 10-minute walk after lunch? Share your first step in the comments below. Your commitment could be the spark that helps someone else begin their journey. If you found this conversation as life-changing as I did, please show your support by giving this episode a like or 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the Essential Health Podcast so you never miss a conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us. Until next time, take good care of yourself.